Are you ready? It's time!
Sleeman Breweries, in association with the Western Ontario Super Hockey League, presents the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. Here's the host of the program, Andrew Rogers.
Hello once again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here, the host of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. This is episode number 29. Great to be back with you guys once again. You'll notice some color changes. It's our Hockey Fights Cancer episode of the podcast. It's like I say, it's great to have you guys along. We do really appreciate it. It's a jam-packed episode, guys, today. Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast, episode number 29. Two guests on the podcast today. Two unbelievable premier athletes in our sport and in our game and in our league today. From the Elora Rocks, number 13 defenseman and slash forward, as he so calls, Spencer McCormick. And we also have number 93 from the Alvinston Killer Bees, Grant Spence. It's a jam load packed episode of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. Guys, I don't want to take too much of your time up because obviously we got so much to get to, okay? First of all, go to our social media, check us out. Here are the links. You can find everything you need to find there. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Some teams have TikTok as well. That's all good if you're into that. But our website is www.woshl.com. You can go there to find everything. You can also go there to find the stream for the games on Sporify. Guys, this app is unbelievable. These games, the streams are unbelievable as well. 2 games upcoming this weekend. I'm going to be at both. I took the weekend off last weekend because I had my kids. So we're definitely going to get back into the swing of things this upcoming weekend, and I am so excited for that, you guys. It's obviously it's a great time of year, honestly, in every which way. November is going great. Obviously, mine's looking real good. Not as good as our last week's guest, Scott Case, which is, he's in a whole nother league of his own on that one. By the way, guys, the Alvinston Killer Bees have raised over $1,000 on their Movember campaign. So kudos to them. Unbelievable stuff. They still got some time left before the end of the month, and they're doing really, really well. So hats off to them. Unbelievable stuff right there, guys. So guys, Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast got a jam-packed episode. Check the social medias, find everything you need to find there. We had a big weekend on tap. We had 3 games on board. The first game on Friday saw Strathroy beat Tillsonburg 4-2. This was in Strathroy. We didn't have streaming available. There was no video highlights for that game, but there are video highlights for the other 2 games this past weekend. Friday night, it was Alvinston and Elora. And then Saturday, for part of Rogers Hometown Hockey, they had Tillsonburg hosting the Elora Rocks. So we have video from those 2. We're going to start with that, and we'll be here on the other side. It's the Alvinston Killer Bees and the Elora Rocks from Elora, Ontario, Canada, Western Ontario Super Hockey League action. First period, Elora strikes first. It's Alex Utley jumping on a turnover in the Killer Bees zone. He beats Nolan Hacker, and it's 1-0 Elora. 6 minutes later, Alvinston gets on the board. Turnover at the Bees blue line. It's an Alvinston 2-0. Grant Spence feeds Avery Antone. He makes no mistake past Colin Dunn. We are tied at 1. Alvinston now on the power play. Puck will eventually find its way to Spence. He is going to rip the shot past the glove hand of Dunn. The Bees lead for the first time in the hockey game, 2-1. Elora now with the puck in the offensive zone. Shot from Chad Heron at the line is stopped by Hacker. But Spencer Gourlay makes no mistake bearing the rebound. We are tied again, 2-2, heading in to the second period. Second period now, Elora entering the Alvinston zone. Puck comes onto the stick of Utley. He's going to rip it high glove side on Hacker, and it's 3-2 Elora on Utley's second of the game. Elora piling on the goals now. This time Brad Crisco gets in on the act with a highlight reel goal. He doubles the Elora lead to 2. It's 4-2 Rocks. Still in the second, Elora in Alvinston territory. This time it's Utley. He puts it in the slot for Chad Heron. He makes no mistake. It's now 5-2 Elora. Elora on the board again. Aaron Smith will bury his 5th of the season. Elora has their 4th of the period. It's 6-2.
Elora now on the 5-on-3 advantage, and it's Utley completing the hat trick. Hamilton and Pickering with the assist, 7-2 Elora heading to the third. Third period, Elora continuing to pile in the goals. Giacometti with some fancy stick work at the blue line, and it's Chad Heron scoring his second of the night, 8-2 Elora. Elora on the board for the 9th time. Chad Heron puts it over to Andrew Whalen. His shot handcuffs Hacker, 9-2 for the Rocks. Alvinston still fighting in this hockey game. 2-on-1 for the Bees. Spence makes an unbelievable move before throwing it across to Blair Deranek. He scores to make it a 9-3 game. Alvinston caps off the scoring on this night. Puck comes to Grant Spence once again, and he puts it past Dunn to cap a 4-point night, making it 9-4 Elora. The handshakes commence. This one ends, like I said, 9-4 Elora over Alvinston. Western Ontario Super Hockey League action. Our final game of the weekend saw the Elora Rocks looking to leapfrog the idle Strathroy Jets for top spot in the WOSHL standings as they travel to Tillsonburg to tangle with the Thunder. First period, 25 seconds into the contest, it's Mateo Condata taking the puck into the Thunder zone. He threads it across to Chad Heron. He scores his 7th of the season. It's 1-0 Elora. 3 minutes later, Tillsonburg answers back. Puck is dumped into the Thunder zone by Todd Ratchford. It's Matt Weston getting there first. He centers to a wide-open Zach Mcquaid. It's his first of the season. We are tied at 1. Less than a minute later, Thunder strikes again. This time Mcquaid with the point shot. That's stopped by Edward Davey. The rebound put home by Weston, his 5th of the year. It's 2-1 Tillsonburg. Still in the first, Elora looking to respond. 2-on-1 from the Tillsonburg blue line. It's Yanni Skropoulos beating Tim Porter high glove. We are tied again. Late in the first, Tillsonburg takes the lead again. Puck is going to be centered to Ratchford. He beats Davey for his 5th of the year. Thunder lead 3-2 heading to the break. Second period now, Elora looking to tie things up. On the power play, point shot from Giacometti is going to find its way through a screen past Tim Porter, and we are deadlocked at 3. Elora looking to take the lead. Great individual effort by number 73, Sean Pickering. He makes no mistake. Elora leads 4-3. Pickering not done there. 30 seconds later, it's him again. His 2nd of the game. It's his 6th goal of the season. Rocks now lead by 2. Still in the second period, Thunder power play. Mcquaid breaks in on Colin Dunn. He puts in his 2nd of the game and 2nd of the season. It's a 1-goal game. Just under 5 to play in the second period, the Elora Rocks restore their 2-goal lead. Initial shot by Jeremy Goodwin is stopped by Andre Waugh, but it's Zach Cameron on the rebound. His 2nd of the year. It's 6-4. Elora heading to the third. Third period now, just over 5 minutes in. Elora strikes again. It's Chad Heron breaking in on the odd man rush. He beats Waugh. It's now 7-4 Elora. Tillsonburg trying to claw back into the hockey game. Jake Brown leading the 2-on-1. He goes to the net hard, converting the pass from Mcquaid. Brown has 13 on the year. It's 7-5. Late in the third now, Tillsonburg net empty, and it's going to be Alex Utley who converts. Utley finishing with a goal and 4 assists on the night. The Rocks win 8-5 and are now in first place in the WOSHL standings.
All right, guys. Yeah, like you can see, guys, there's our scoreboard. Strathroy over Tillsonburg 4-2. You had them improved to 8-1 on the season. Elora defeating Alvinston by a score of 9-4. Elora improving to 8-1 in the game. Alvinston dropping to 0-11, but they were unbelievable, guys. Think about it. 2-2 after 1, and they both tied again 2-2 in the third period, but it was a 5-goal second period that was the difference for the Elora Rocks in this hockey game. And then it was Elora again, 8-5 over Tillsonburg on Saturday. Guys, you'll notice that there were some circulating, scoreboards that came out that said that Elora had won 7-5. I apologize. That's my mistake. It was actually 8-5. Alex Utley scoring with 10 seconds left in the empty net to make it an 8-5 game, as you guys saw in the highlights. But yes, the Elora Rocks improving to 9-1. Tillsonburg falling to 5-6. They've been on a little bit of a slide late, but hopefully they can get it going this upcoming weekend. We'll get to that in a few. But yes, as you guys can see in the standings, the Elora Rocks now 9-1-0, 18 points on the season. They are number 1. Strathroy Jets 8-1. They may have a higher win percentage, but they are still in second place. They've played one less game than the Elora Rocks, but they have 17 points there in second. Tillsonburg Thunder remain in third, 5-6-0 and 10 with 10 points. The Stratford Fighting Irish, who didn't play this past weekend, are on the ice again this upcoming weekend. They are 3-6-1 with 7, and then Alvinston at 0-11. But yeah, guys, unbelievable contest by the Alvinston Killer Bees. on Friday night against the Elora Rocks. But just failing to come up a bit short as if you erase the second period, as a 4-4 game. But yes, Grant Spence, I thought was unbelievable. He's on the podcast today. He's our second guest. 4-point effort from him. Unbelievable. Big ups though from Alex Utley. He had an unbelievable weekend. 9 points combined, I think, for him this past weekend, and he's now up to 30. We'll go to that actually. We'll go to our leading scorers updates. Alex Utley, 15 and 15. He has 30. He leads both in goals and in assists. Second in goal scoring is Jake Brown. He has 13 goals, 19 points. He's in third behind Luke Baleshta with 6 and 14 for 20. He's only played 7 games out of all of them as well. That's unbelievable. Spencer McCormick, our first guest on the podcast, he's coming up in a little bit here. He's in fourth, and Aaron Smith in fifth. 4 Elora Rocks in the top 5. It's unbelievable, guys. It's just unbelievable stuff what they're doing right now. Big ups then also to Michael Giacometti from Elora, the defenseman, 2 and 12 for 14, and Matt Weston, 5 and 8. He had a big weekend as well for Tillsonburg. Also want to give big ups to Zach Mcquaid. He had 4 points in the contest against the Elora Rocks. He just a phenomenal effort from him in a loss, but he played really, really well, I thought. So great to see. And then Alex Utley got 5 points against Tillsonburg. It's crazy. Just a crazy weekend for scores, guys. And obviously guys putting up big point totals. So great to see for them, and great to see all around. But yeah, so guys, like I said, got a big show. Really appreciate the highlight pack. Those were really cool. And obviously, if you want to find them on our YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to find the podcast, you can also find the highlight packs. So check those out. Yeah, guys. So it's our Hockey Fights Cancer podcast. It's a great time of the year. Christmas is coming up soon. It's just a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be going out to the games and coming out and watching in full support of the hockey in the Western Ontario Super Hockey League. So, guys, like as mentioned, we had an unbelievable time talking with both of our guests. I want to take you now to our first interview. We spoke and sat down with Spencer McCormick, number 13, defenseman forward of the Elora Rocks. Here's his interview now. We are very pleased at this time to welcome in our guest, one of 2 guests on this edition of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast, by way of the Waterloo, Ontario, now in Elmira, playing for the Elora Rocks, number 13, Spencer McCormick. Spencer, great to have you on, pal. Thanks a lot for doing this, and welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on, pal. Obviously, the Elora Rocks off to an unbelievable start. You guys are 9-1-0 on the season, top spots in the Western Ontario Super Hockey League standings. What's it been like so far? Take us through the first 10 games. How's it been?
It's different because you can go through any guy in our room and you can find a good, characteristic from each guy, and we've all just sort of come together. And doesn't really matter what team you played on before. It's all starting to kind of mesh together, and didn't even skip a beat. Like, it started right from the first game, first practice. Like, we meant business. And now to see some chemistry start to get involved, like it's pretty special to watch the wheels start rolling here. Each guy can bring a different aspect of the game, whether they had played, junior somewhere or whatever it was. They can bring that to the team, and the more you accept it, the easier it is to get the whole train moving. And I think we did that right off the start. We had a couple, early scrimmages where you're getting the legs back in shape, whether you like it or not. And I think that really got a winning mentality in our heads. So we've been looking to some of the guys for, leadership, but right away, everyone jumped into a leadership role and kind of picked up almost like where they left off in junior or wherever they played previously, and brought a competitive edge right off the start.
And just to clarify, a 92 birthday, I'd imagine that would make you one of the older guys in the locker room, correct? Like, I mean, I know you're not in Whalen's age, but still, I got to imagine that you're up there in terms of the other guys. I imagine a lot of them are younger guys, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you don't really notice that until you start, having some conversations with the guys, like where you play, right. And how old are you? And you guys are 97, 98. Right.
And
to me, that sounds strange. But it's nice because we do have a good mix of older, I say older, some more veteran players that have played similar hockey or kind of understand the game just through years of experience. And then to add those guys with the younger, more energetic and, higher intensity guys, like it's a pretty good combination.
Well, of course. And then obviously, like, there's got to be a little bit of, like, I know you're probably a pretty humble guy and you don't like to put the spotlight on you so much, but I'm going to do it anyway. Being as you might be even an older guy in the league in general, because there's not a whole lot of 92s that you'll notice. Believe me, I've looked. But the fact that you're sitting fourth in the league in scoring and you're obviously tops amongst all defensemen, like, what does it mean to you when you hear that? Like, personal accolades, what does that mean to you?
I mean, yeah, personally, it's a nice feeling. But at a certain point, you kind of have to just look overall. If I'm contributing to the scoring, from the back end, well, hopefully there's other people contributing on the front end. And if everyone's contributing, then typically your team's going to be successful. So, I don't look into it as a personal thing, but if you were to look kind of down the depth charts a little there, we have some of the big guns moving, and can shoot the lights out almost every game. And if you can jump on board with that, you can be picking up points. Secondary scoring obviously helps, and even from the back end, you're getting some good power play time. And the points, they do come, but it's more as a whole, as a unit. If you were to look, there's not just one guy and then it drops off. It's a consistent effort throughout the entire team. So the points will come collectively. And, so far for me personally, it's kind of been relatively hot stick and hot team. So you ride it and you keep going.
Right. And obviously, speaking of point totals, I mean, you have looked no further than the top of the list, and you got Alex Edler, who's absolutely killing it. What makes it, like, obviously you get a front row seat to watching his brilliance out there too. Like, what is it like watching him play and do his thing?
Yeah, it's pretty special. I mean, there's times, and I've been in this situation where you kind of unmarked in the slot or whatever, and you get a good look and, hits the knob of the stick. For some reason, Utley, it's just, guy's automatic. Like, he's very deadly with the puck, and he seems to be cashing in on every chance he's had, where a lot of guys, backdoor pass, and you're seeing the back of the net, kind of thinking what celebration you're going to do, and then all of a sudden the guy gets a paddle on it. Utley seems to be able to cash those in, and I've had droughts in my career, and it's sometimes you just need a lucky off the shin pad or pop out to you, and for some reason he knows how to get to those spots where he can generate scoring chances and then actually cash in on them. Because I think 15 goals or something like that.
He's got 15 and 15. It's unreal.
I mean, the whole unit, like I said, we can put the puck in the net, but for let's say a broken play 2-on-1 or something where you're not quite sure what the play is, he's so patient with it that he can make the goalie move while the D's dropping for a pass, and then either shoot. He's got an unbelievable shot and really good vision. So from the blue line in, it's a threat at all times. And he's using the momentum of having a hot stick right now, and you just get the guy the puck and let him do his thing. It's pretty cool.
It's unbelievable. He's absolutely on fire. It's impressive to see, and then obviously Balesha as well, which was very impressive. So let's and again, let's switch gears a little bit here, because like you generally will typically play with who on the defensive side as your defensive partner? Who would that typically be?
Usually Mark Hamilton.
Okay, and how has it been like to play with him? I know he's a special player out there. Watching you guys go, it just seems like you guys work so well together out there on the ice.
Yeah, it's I think we have a pretty good balance. You know, there's some games where I like to kind of jump up into the rush and maybe be more offensive defenseman. I've switched back and forth my whole career from forward and D. So I do like to get involved in the rushes, and then to have such a solid rock back there like Mark, he's a really solid stay at home, doesn't get pushed off the puck easy, and he's, you know, he wins all the low battles. Like he's a big man, and he doesn't get pushed around very easily. And then you flip him onto the, you know, offensive blue line, and he can smoke the puck, and he's hitting one-timers and he's scoring goals, and it's, you know, makes my job pretty easy when you have a guy that you can rely on the back end and then is also getting involved offensively. So it's good, and it's nice playing with him. And then he'll come off the bench and he's asking, you know, did I do this right, or positionally was I okay there? And yeah, you know what, man, you're good. Like it's a huge communication thing, and I think,
Cool, man.
You know, you'll see guys at higher levels, right? They're talking on the bench, they got the iPads, they're going over stuff, and Mark, he's constantly asking questions. And you know, you've been playing the game your whole life, and there's always still stuff to be learning. And I'm not saying I know it, but if I can see a different view than he does and we talk, it's working pretty well.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that. That's really cool. And like, obviously, yeah, you're only as good as your defensive partner. Some will say anyway.
Exactly.
And then the biggest rock obviously has to be Colin Dunn, because he has absolutely played unbelievable hockey thus far. I mean, that goalie tandem is very good. Like, I've known Eddie for a long time, and he's a fantastic individual, great goalie on the ice and off the ice. But Colin's been absolutely unreal for you guys as kind of the OG in the room too, because he does come over from the previous incarnation of the Elora Rocks. He's been there for a very, very, very long time, but he doesn't look like he's missed a beat. He looks better than ever.
Yeah, no, he's just got this confidence to him where, you know, you can't shake the guy. He's big, he's strong, he sees the ice so well. He's almost, you know, one step ahead of the play, and he can anticipate things where, you know, it's my guy, I'm beat, it's 2-on-1, and the guy's hitting a one-timer. I'm like, oh, here we go. And, you know, quick glove.
Right.
He moves so well for a big man. But the thing that really, really stood out to me, and it continues to kind of blow me away, is his communication.
Okay.
You know, he could just have been scored on, and he'll come up and, you know, give you a pad tap and kind of like, all right, we're fine here, no big deal. Or, you know, puck's dumped in, and he plays the puck so well. Like, he really, really can move the puck so well. So we're not even going in to help support him. Like, we're going to an open area because we trust that he can get the puck there.
Right.
And he'll pull you aside between plays and say, hey, yeah, you know, keep doing this, or move this way, and get open and talk it out, which, as a goalie, the guy that sees the most ice, like, you need him to be guiding these players, especially players that have come from all over the place and might not have played together before, or you know each other that well. And to have this guy who's A, making highlight reel saves, B, talking to you on the ice, like, it really helps you kind of relax out there. And then just to know that if there is a broken play, stuff happens, whatever, off a shin pad,
right,
you're relatively safe with him back there. It's a pretty comforting feeling.
That's great, man. No, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And obviously, yes, it's led to the team's success. You guys are 9-1-0 to start the year, number one in the league. After your victory, a 2-victory weekend over both Alvinston and Tilsonburg, puts you guys in the number one seed. This upcoming Friday, you guys play a highly anticipated rematch against the Strathroy Jets, battle of 1 versus 2. Last time you guys were on the ice in Elora, you guys came back. You were down 3-1, showed a lot of resilience to come back and win 4-3 in overtime, much in part thanks to Luke Balesh's natural hat trick and his winner in overtime. What do you anticipate for the rematch, and what was it about playing Strathroy in the last game that made them such a tough opponent for you guys?
I'd say that it's tough because they're a pretty similar team to us. Like, they have a couple big guys up front that can move the puck well. And if you get caught, lacking defensively or positionally in the D zone, they'll just expose you. And we got caught like down a few goals and saying, because that's sort of what I've noticed in this league is it can go south very quick. And as soon as you start to fold up, that's it. You're done. But I'd say it's because they are a very similar team to us.
Right.
There's a lot of guys on their team that, I think have played higher level hockey, and there was a big respect factor between the two teams, and it was a high level game because it didn't get really out of hand, and it was a skill set game, and kind of whoever broke first was gonna be outscored, and you can't really point a finger at any one player or any team. It was just kind of which way the bounces went, and we were working as hard as we could, but it's so tough to say what's going to happen Friday. I mean, you never truly know what the lineups are and who's going to be out there, and if you could match up and stuff like that, and then power play, penalty kill, like,
of course.
It's so tough to say, but I think it's because they're so similar to our team that's why it's going to be pretty competitive.
Well, and that's just it, right? Like, I think at any given point, any one team can beat any other team in this league. If you have an off night, you're done. Like, it's just
exactly
just like that. And and again, I have to imagine that there's some sort of excitement level or some sort of blood pumping that gets going during these games that you've played in so far, and even that game specifically. There's that, obviously, the blood pump and the excitement of the game and the high intensity, but there's also got to be a little bit of satisfaction looking up in that Elora crowd and seeing that place packed, because, man, you guys have gotten some of the best crowds so far we've seen this season.
Yeah, that's a big one for us. I mean, it's probably been a while since I played in front of fans like that.
I'll bet.
And to see the community kind of come back into Elora and find some stuff to do on a Friday night, it's very exciting because it's good for the community. It's great for us. We love it. Like, you're high-fiving kids on the way out. Yeah, it's been years since I've done that. And it gives the community something to kind of look forward to. And obviously it helps that we're started off very strong, because then it's easier to get behind. And then the more people that are getting behind the team, the more energy we have going out. And the more energy you have, maybe the quicker, better start you have into the game. And then you start winning games. So it is a cycle. Right. And I think the main thing was getting people in the door. And with COVID, we weren't sure what was really going to happen.
Of course.
As far as players, they just wanted to be on the ice. They would be playing in front of, 0 fans if that's what it meant to get back on the ice.
Right.
But then you got to think of the fans. Well, they want to get out and they want to do something and leave the house. So
absolutely,
come on out, and they've been amazing. I just want to see that thing completely packed.
Oh yeah.
Like right up to the brim with people and cheering and the kids are there. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we're talking with Spencer McCormick, defenseman of the Elora Rocks, here on the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. Andrew Rogers, the host here. So like I say, I mean, obviously it's got to be a little bit of a different feeling for you. I mean, you're a dad, you got, twin girls. I mean, like, that has to play into it a little bit, because like I know how much that can mean when you play for them, right? Like when you play and you have them in the stands, like the family support. What's that been like for you?
Oh, I love it. They since they were born, they've been coming to games, and I always say that they're my biggest, littlest fans. And as chaotic as it is, them running around the arena, it's, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to go over to the glass and make sure that they know that I can see them. And
of course,
it really does kind of remind me of why I'm, doing it. I took a year off when they were first born, and it affected me more than I thought, because you go your entire life playing on a hockey team and then all of a sudden it stops. But I needed to know where my priorities were. And then once things kind of got settled in, I said, yeah, well, why not start coming to the games and see what this is all about? And they just kept having so much fun, like the chuck-a-puck and the fun stuff for the kids. It's amazing to see, because I was that kid. I did that when I was younger. I would go to, Ranger games and be hanging over the tunnel asking for a stick.
Right.
And, now kind of being on the other side, well, hey kid, listen, that stick's expensive, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
So it is fun to kind of see it as a whole family outing now, and then to see other families bringing their kids and other players bringing their kids, and we're kind of at that age now, so
yeah, absolutely.
It's tough for people to just hang them up because you have a family, but I love to see if you can balance that and make it work. That is super special, because you dedicate so much time your whole life to being a hockey player. And then, life happens, you start getting a little bit older, you start settling down, you have kids. Well, that shouldn't necessarily change. So I'm super fortunate that I'm able to implement both, and, still get the best of both worlds there.
Absolutely. One of the things that I find that is particularly interesting is obviously, with this whole COVID thing that's still ongoing, unbelievable that it is. I know for you specifically, actually, this is interesting, because I've sometimes talked with guys and I'm like, and then I remember, oh yeah, right. When you last skated before Elora in Tavistock with the Tavistock Royals, you guys were just preparing for your A final against the Milverton four-wheel drives when COVID shut us down. Like, I remember that time very vividly, because I was in the thick of it as well on the other side of things, with the Minto 81s, the Ripley Wolves deadlocked at 2 in their best of 7. So I can only imagine what it was like for you. I don't know if you can recall what it was like when you at least heard the news, but I can only imagine what it was like for a player to be right in the thick of thing, ready to go mentally for an A final, and to have them say, oh, by the way, we're done. It's over.
That was kind of tough. I mean, looking back now, it's sort of like, wow, that was not what I was expecting. But we were just kind of getting warmed up, getting some chemistry late in the season, and then rolling into playoffs. We kept that chemistry moving and a little bit of momentum, and then flicking the switch, it's
over.
Well, we're not quite sure what's going on, and then you start looking to like management and who's making the final say in all this. And at that point it was just so unsure. Like, it was,
it's wild.
It was a bit weird. I'm sure there was a bunch of guys just sort of waiting to find out what was going to happen, and then you kind of forget about it and move on, because your life has to move on. So next thing you know, you blink and it's like 2 years later and you haven't been on the ice.
Yeah, no, exactly, right.
So you better get quick into shape, or you just try to wing it. But that was tough, because a lot of people, like I said, I mean, you miss it, and the structure of it, and going on a bus trip or whatever it is, right? Being in the room for practice, like that's little stuff that people don't really understand. It has an impact on you, like,
right.
There's like a brotherhood there, and as soon as you take that away, you're not even sure where you can go see those guys again, because outside of hockey, you might not ever really hang out with some of those guys, or they're way out of town, or whatever it is.
Life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way. That's it.
Now, so that was the interesting part. So you were with Tavistock for 5 years, and that's a long time to be with an organization and a league. But then the opportunity came to come to Elora. How did that kind of all come about? And what has your relationship with Mitch, Scott, and Rich Wigmore been like?
Yeah, so when I was in Tavistock, I had a few friends on that team, so they kind of suggested maybe I come out and skate. And I did. was, to this day, I still have lots of friends that play there, and I have nothing bad to say about it. Just personally, I had moved out to Elmira, so all of a sudden those winter drives from Elora to Tavistock are pretty substantial, and I have no hard feelings with them, and I hope it's mutual as well. They've reached out and wished me luck, but a big chunk of the reason why I am playing in Elora is Rich and Mitch. I had met Rich in Tavistock, actually. He was our goalie, and he was doing the drive from Elora to Tavistock.
Right.
And that's kind of how we got to know each other. And then he had mentioned some stuff about ball hockey and then this 3HL league that was starting up. And I said, yeah, sure. Let's do that. And, all of a sudden you look back 5 years and you don't even know how a friendship kind of came out of it, but it did. And now I trust those guys a lot, and they suggested maybe coming out to Elora. And then as soon as you start naming guys who's going to be there, and we got this guy, it kind of, sweetens the deal a little bit, right? So I know Mitch, I know Rich. These guys, they're super competitive. They know what they're doing, and all it really took was just the players and all the behind the scenes stuff that these guys are doing. It's incredible. They know how to recruit, and they know how to run the operation. Even though they've never done it before, they know what they're doing, and they have the support from every player. They have the support from the community. Sure, the drive is a little bit shorter for me, no problem, but to actually invest and put your trust into these guys, it's pretty special, because they are doing what they said they were going to do. It's not a couple buddies hanging out and see where it goes. They're running a professional organization here. It's, you walk in, there's bananas and snacks and stuff in the room like that. You haven't had that stuff since junior, and right away going into the room, it felt like a junior hockey team, and I think that's what they're trying to accomplish, because they know that's what guys want, right? And that was a big decision, for me, and to have the comfort of Rich and Mitch there that I already knew, going into a team that I might not know anyone, that's a little easier for people. And then all of a sudden, okay, well, Spence is going, and then Luke's going, and then this guy together. So it started with them, and they made a few phone calls, and they got the ball rolling. No, they're doing a great job. Like, they really are.
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously, the results speak for themselves. There's a lot of familiarity in this league as well. I've noticed, guys know everybody, and there's a mutual respect, I think, that people have for the other guys on the ice, having played against them, with them, just again, this mutual understanding that we're there for a hockey game. We don't want to kill each other because we got to go to work on Monday. There's just that mutual respect, I think, at the end of the day. Have you noticed a lot of that? Like, a lot of guys that you may have known before from previous years, leagues that you've played in before?
Yeah, definitely. Not as much in this league because of the different teams, but even the different teams. Yeah. Like, hockey's such a small community. You could look up one guy that you think you might have played with, and then, online it shows, yeah, you did, or you played in the same league. And then all of a sudden that's a conversation starter. So
absolutely,
you're stretching at center ice there, and all of a sudden a guy comes over to you and you're just talking, or you have a mutual friend that you played with or something like that.
Right.
And that's nice, because you still want to be competitive, but you said it best, man. Like, you don't want to see anybody get hurt.
No,
not at this level, not at any level. And now that people are having kids and families, and you got responsibilities, the last thing you want is, a cheap shot to the back of the head, or you're
Absolutely.
hurt, or you can't play ever again. Like, that's not what you want. So to even have just a small conversation with a guy at the start, or in a scrum where, nothing's really unfolding, maybe you think twice about taking a swing at the guy on the next play, and then that reciprocates. That goes back and vice versa. And there is still some very competitive plays. Like I'm talking some of the biggest hits I've seen in my hockey career have come out of senior hockey. And it's nothing personal. It's part of the game, and you have to maintain that aspect of the game.
Oh yeah.
But I am also seeing guys, maybe not take that extra stride into a hit, or not be raising the sticks up in a scrum, stuff like that. And to me, that's just men becoming adults and knowing that it's not a respectful hockey play.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we're all going to the blue line club or shaking hands after the game, and it's nothing personal.
Right.
So I do really like the respect in this league. And there's not one guy that you really bash. Yeah, you get chippy out on the ice, and
sure, of course,
and it happens, but then you shake the hands after, and everything's okay.
Well, like it's for me, Spencer, it's always been the same thing, man. Like there's competitiveness and there's respect. You got to be able to maintain both. And I think this league has done an unbelievable job so far through the first half of the season, getting close to in doing that. So let's just talk a little bit. So you've played in a lot of places in your junior career leading up to this. So you spent some time with the Elmira Sugar Kings, Trenton Golden Hawks, Hamilton Red Wings, some years with Wilfrid Laurier. In your time in different hockey organizations, is there a memory that sticks out to you among the rest that is just one of your fondest hockey memories?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, winning the Sutherland Cup in Elmira, that was something that you just really can't
Okay.
You can't forget that. You can't move by that. I did go and play for different teams after, and you move on with your life and you move on with your career. But in that moment, you don't realize the team that you have until they hand you the trophy. Like, you're going in and you're practicing and you're working as hard as you can, and you just think that that's what you're supposed to do because that's what every other team is doing. Right. But until you actually win and you've gone as far as you possibly can go, they hand you the trophy. Then you start to sit and look at the guys in the room that you did it with, and you're like, I understand why we got here. It's because every single guy wanted it just as bad. I'm talking not even on the ice, like off the ice. You're hanging out with these guys nonstop, and you're getting to know their personal lives, and you're meeting their friends, and you're expanding your connections with these people. So then when you go back onto the ice, it's not just a player anymore. Like, that's a friend, that's a brother that you would go and block a shot for or stand up for in a scrum. And that really opened my eyes to like the game of hockey. I was like, this entire team, you could roll the next 5 guys, you could penalty kill with our next 4 guys out, and every single guy was so competitive in their own separate ways that it made a fluid, team that everyone gelled together and everyone worked so well together. That was when I was like, okay, well, this is bigger than just hockey. Like, this is a lifestyle, and this is something special. And I kind of kicked myself. I still stay in touch with a few guys, but that was a very big memory for me because I know every player that was on that team, and some have gone further in their hockey careers, and some don't play anymore, and that's okay. But at any given point, you could call one of those guys on your team and they would pick up and they would be there for you if you needed it in a second.
That's awesome.
There's a connection, there's a bond that you just can't break. And I think if you go the distance with a team, it changes your mentality for sure. But yeah, that was a very special memory that I had.
That's really cool, dude. I love that answer a lot. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Spence, so you were telling me a little bit before we come on about your business. You got a self-made business that you started back in February. Can you just talk a little bit about that, and I guess kind of give us a little bit of insight about that?
Yeah. So my business is McCormick Mechanical.
Okay.
It's a plumbing business. I do a little bit of renovations as well, but I'm trying to get more into the strictly plumbing side of it without kind of getting carried away and knocking walls down and stuff. I've fixed up 2 houses of my own now, and that's kind of where I learned how to do the other renovation part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did go to school. I did complete my plumbing apprenticeship and started my business in February. And I've been rolling pretty solid ever since.
Okay.
It's busy, but it's a perfect work-life balance that I needed for me and the twins and my girlfriend Martina. It's a lot more. I don't want to say freedom because it never really stops, but
Right.
it's a lot nicer to be able to pick my schedule and kind of not really report to anyone except for myself.
Right.
But
Well,
no, it's good. It's busy, and I'm excited to kind of see how winter goes, because stuff's always going wrong with plumbing in the winter. So we'll have to see. But so far, it's going pretty good.
well, like I say, congratulations on it. And where can people go to find you if they want to get in touch with you?
So that's the one thing I do have to broaden out. I don't have a website yet.
Okay.
Probably the best would be on Instagram. I do have a few pictures of some before and after bathroom renovations,
Okay.
stuff like that. But it's soon to come. I'll have a website up and running, hopefully shortly, and make it a little more user friendly. So as for now, it would be probably just Instagram.
Okay.
Would be McCormick Mechanical on Instagram.
Perfect. McCormick Mechanical. Excellent. That's MacCormack.
Yeah.
Just for people spelling it home. So Spencer, last question I got for you, dude. Again, you've been an unbelievable guest on this podcast, so I really do appreciate that. The one question I usually always try and ask people whenever hockey players, especially, like, who do you owe your hockey success to, and who would you say is your biggest influence in how you started out your hockey upbringing?
Oh, that's definitely my dad. A lot of people might not really realize the the behind the scenes that parents really put into hockey. I mean, everyone has like their hero that you watch playing on TV, like Matt Sundin and guys like that. But
Good hero.
What's that?
Just a good hero. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Right. So, but to see now me as a father who has young kids in hockey, like, you really take for granted that you had morning practices and you wake up and breakfast is ready for you and your gear's half on and you're still asleep and you're going to the rink for 6 o'clock practice, and then you got to go quick to school. I never imagined that, my dad was tired at work that day. Like, that's
right.
Because I'm a little kid. I'm gone. I'm in school. I'm on to the next thing. I move on.
Right.
But to see the effort, the time, the money that it took to get me to the point where I was, or currently still am in my hockey career, like I owe him the world. And if for some reason, you sign one big contract, like you got to give them a chunk of it, because there's nothing you can do to repay the time that has been invested in it. The
Absolutely.
sticks, the skates, and it just keeps getting more and more expensive now.
Yeah.
And you have to really acknowledge that it was a lot of time out of my mom and my dad's life that I got to be careful with what I say here. If they didn't want to do it, they wouldn't have done it, but they saw how much I liked it, so they continued to support it.
I understand.
And they pushed me. And my dad, he never played hockey, but he knew everything there was to know about it. He knew if I was having a bad game, and you'd see him through the glass being like, "Hey, skate." And we've got into heated battles. And I said, "Okay, well, you go play then. Like, you show me how to do it." Right. And that was just more motivation that pushed me to keep going. And he always supported me, and the equipment and the morning practices, it's stuff that you'll never really, you never really think about, but it's a huge impact, has a huge impact on, young kids getting into sports, getting into hockey.
Right.
And for that, I'll always be in debt to him. Even last weekend, I asked that, "Hey, I'm going to set a ticket out for you, whether you're here or not. There's going to be a ticket there." Yeah, no, I'm not going to make it out to the game. And then I know every single game, I look, he sits across from our bench, no matter who we're playing, no matter what arena we're in. And if he's there, then he'll sit across from the bench. So then last game, he says he's not going to be there. And I look up and he's sitting there.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. And even so, I moved away to go play in Trenton, and they'd make it to the games. They wouldn't tell me they're coming, and they'd sit across from the bench. And to me, that was kind of like, oh, they genuinely, they really do like watching me play, because they see how happy it makes me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. My parents, my mom, she was definitely a huge supporter as well. Don't get me wrong, but then the competitive and the fighting and the punching and shoving.
Moms don't like that stuff.
Oh no, she didn't like that stuff at all. And she'd always go, "Well, did you score?" "Well, no, I had fun though." But
yeah, they don't see it that way. Right? They just want the stats.
Exactly.
They just want the stats.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking on this edition of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast to number 13 of the Elora Rocks, Spencer McCormick. Big game for the Elora Rocks this coming Friday in Strathroy against the Strathroy Jets, battle of the top two teams. Spencer, good luck on Friday, and thanks a lot for taking the time out to do this. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Yeah, welcome back. I just want to take an opportunity to thank Spencer for coming on and speaking with us again. It's great to have him on, and great to get his insight. Really, really good stuff from him. And we obviously wish him really well throughout the rest of the course of the regular season and into the playoffs and everything else. But yeah, big ups to him for coming on, and we really appreciate talking with him. Our second guest on the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. Let's spare no time and let's get right to that. Our second guest, he is from the Alvinston Killer Bees. He's having an unbelievable season for them. 7 goals, 7 assists through the 7 games played so far this season. Now 14 points total for number 93 of the Alvinston Killer Bees, Grant Spence. All right, folks. Yes, guest number 2 on this edition of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. I'm the host, Andrew Rogers, and this is my guest in the red, sporting the Nike red, like looking like Tiger Woods over there. Number 93 of the Alvinston Killer Bees, Grant Spence. Grant, thanks for coming on the podcast, and welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Andrew.
Dude, we want to talk to you about the Killer Bees. Obviously, for yourself, you're a younger guy, Chatham native, 21 years old, fresh face, unlike some of the rest of us, or at least our other guests. We had Spencer McCormick on from Elora. He's sporting a full beard, had and all that sort of stuff. But obviously, yourself, younger guy in this league. How's it been so far for you through about the first half of the Western Ontario Super Hockey season?
I've really enjoyed my experience so far in this league. I've been really impressed coming in. I didn't know what to really expect, and it's been a lot better than I've expected, actually. The league's been really good. There's some good teams, some good players on every team, and the pace of play is a lot better than I expected coming actually into the league.
Yeah, and like obviously for yourself, I think you've adjusted pretty nicely. You've put up a nice little stat line: 7 goals, 7 assists through 7 games of in the 7 games that you played out of the 11 that the Killer Bees have played this season. What is it like? What do you attribute that success to? I mean, probably being a younger guy, you're probably thinking, well, it's a lot of the generic answers are, oh, it's my teammates or guys that are helping me out. But from a personal standpoint, like what's working for you?
I think my biggest thing is just getting pucks on net and just keep getting shots on net, and it's kind of leading to success. And also like getting my line mates have been really good so far this year. We've really clicked, especially the last couple games. We're starting to feel each other out a little more. Like it's still early. Like I've only played 7 games and a couple of those games have been with different guys. But the line that we actually have right now, like last game, we did pretty well. We got all 4 of those goals. So we were kind of gelling there. Mm-hmm. So I think that's big. Plus, I think just keep working on this little skills in tight sort of thing, and that can just lead to success.
And so sorry, who have you been playing with recently?
So the last couple of games, we've actually got a little bit of a Chatham line going. I'm with Blair Durink and Christian Mocha.
Okay, yeah, right on. And what makes it so easy to play with them? Is it familiarity? Is it knowing like them a little bit outside of the game, maybe? Like, what is it that's working?
Yeah, so we know each other pretty well outside of the rink, but really we haven't played much hockey together. So the first game that we actually played together in Stratford, we were a little off for the first couple periods, but then the third period hit and we were that was our best period by far in third as a line. Mm-hmm. And then the last game, we just seemed to really gel. Like the passes were more on the tape. We kind of knew where each other were going to be sort of thing. And that really helped out.
And then, that's great. And I'm glad that things are rolling for you guys as a line. And obviously you'd like to see continued success, no question. But obviously the results haven't been there from a wins-loss perspective. Like, what is it to you? Like from your perspective, what has it been that's been the most challenging to this point?
I think the most challenging thing is, even though like on the scoreboard, the games haven't looked close, if you're actually at the games, they feel close sort of thing. Like it doesn't feel like we're ever out of these games by that much. It's just kind of like, hate to say it, but it's like unlucky bounces here and there that are kind of hurting us as a team. And that's kind of frustrating just because we think we were playing well. Like last game, we played really well in the first and third periods against Elora, and then we kind of let off in the second period, and that's where they jumped on us and got that big lead from. So like for 2 or 3 periods, we were right with that team.
Yeah, because like I was watching actually some of that, and I noticed, it was 2-2 after 1, and then obviously they explode for 5 in the second. Like, again, like you could attribute that to anything, really. I mean, a game, like I said, it's all about bounces and taking advantage of opportunities. I don't know. I guess what is it that you think that needs to be done? I guess to correct that is like it can't be one thing, obviously, but like it's little things, right?
Yeah, I think it's just getting more familiar too. Like we're a brand new team. Like I think on our team, like no one really on our team has really played much hockey together. And I know there's a couple other teams in this league that have already been a team in like maybe a different league, or the guys have played together a little bit. Right. So I think like we might even need a couple more games to keep getting familiar. And we've brought quite a few new guys in. So just getting them familiar with each other. And I think that that's going to lead to some success.
Yeah, like that's the biggest thing I noticed too. Like when you guys came to Stratford, I was talking with Sean Dickey, head coach, and like I couldn't believe the amount of turnover from your roster. Like there's a lot of players that have come and gone, essentially, like turned over through the lineup. Like from a player's perspective, like playing with different guys on different nights, like how hard of an adjustment is that, or is it something that you can pick up easily?
I think it all depends on the situation. It just seems like sometimes you get put on a line and you guys gel right away. And then other times you're playing with guys and maybe your games don't match up perfectly and it takes a little while to get used to playing with each other. So I think it all depends on that.
And then obviously the other perspective of it too is like, you got some guys in this league that are very skilled, very talented. The skill level is off the charts, I think, at least from the first half of the season, haven't been to a few games. What has impressed you most about this league, and what have you found to be its, I guess a shining challenge for you as a player?
Yeah, I think it's the offensive skill has really stood out to me. Like a lot of these guys, they might have lost a step in their speed, but their hands are still right there. They can still shoot the puck. Like that's been really impressive. And I think that like the more these guys, like there's been some guys that haven't played competitive hockey in like 5 or 6 years. So now that they're finally getting back into it and no longer it's going into the season, the pace of play is actually starting to pick up too, which is really turning this league into a better league.
And then, like that's an interesting point that you make there about the layoff, because COVID obviously shut everything down for a long amount of time. Even some guys hadn't played a lot longer than that, but some had the shorter wait, I guess.
Yep.
For you specifically, like say your overage year with Georgetown Raiders, that was
Yep.
abruptly, like you said before we came on, eliminated at the right before COVID shut everything down, and then obviously your overage year was canceled and shut down as well.
Yep.
Like, how did that impact you, and how did it kind of work into the decision to come back in after the long layoff? Like, how big was that to get back into it?
Last year I was grateful enough to skate a little bit at least. Like I was still skating competitively. Like I know at the start of the season we were skating. I actually moved back to Chatham to play my last year in Chatham, and then I was skating with the Maroons like a couple times a week.
Right.
So when I was there, I was grateful to still be practicing at a high level, and still like we were almost preparing to maybe have like a shortened season or whatnot, because we weren't sure at that time if the season was going to be totally ended or maybe we'd start in the new year or what was going to happen that way. But as soon as you figured out the season was canceled like entirely, it sucked. Missing your OA year, a lot of guys say that's the most fun they ever have is when they're the oldest guy on the team and they can mentor the young guys sort of thing. That sucked missing that, but I still got to practice at a high level and get in some scrimmages and stuff like that. But like it's not the same. Like when you miss the game and the actual game speed, it's totally a different thing. So it's nice to finally get back into that this year.
And so from going from your junior ranks to this league, it's a brand new league. It's a hybrid league. It's not, it's got a nice little mixture of younger guys such as yourself and then a couple of older guys as well. What has been the biggest thing you've noticed from that time to this time?
I think they're different leagues. I think
definitely different.
Yeah, a lot different. I think the junior is a lot more run and gun, hit guys flying all over the ice every which way, where the senior A is more like guys are just in the right spots. They know where to be. They're not using their energy when they don't have to, sort of thing. They're kind of like, if you're in the right spot, there's no point of moving. In junior, you got a guy that might be in the right spot, but then he sees the puck and he just will skate right across the ice after the puck.
Right.
So I think that's the bigger thing. It's the pace of play. But like, I think it doesn't really make a big difference just because in senior, the guys are in the right spot. So it's just as difficult.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I would agree with that. Definitely that's like, I've just been so impressed by the pace of play and the amount of skill level. Just so I've been a huge advocate of you. I've really enjoyed your play. When you guys were in Alvinston, I kept saying that during our stream that I was really impressed with the numbers you'd put up. You're just electric out there. You just seem to be in the right spot at the right time. And when you go, you're going. This league, and obviously, a younger guy can obviously excel because they're faster, they're more they can handle the conditioning better than the old guys who might be struggling to catch a breath. Have you kind of taken any sort of, I guess, advice from the other guys on your team? Like who's kind of taking you under their wing, I guess, if that has happened? Has anybody kind of done that?
Yeah, we actually have a great leadership group in Alvinston. Like I know our captain, Lighty, has been great. He was talking to me at the Stratford game and giving me little pointers because he was actually hurt. So he was up in the stands. So he was seeing it from a different point of view. And he was just telling me, like, you have a little more time than you think, sort of thing out there. Like you're creating space. They're kind of giving you a little bit of space. So that was a big helping thing because sometimes I think that I got to make a quick play. And he was telling me that I have the extra second and something like that. But our leadership group in Alvinston has been very good. Like they've been very welcoming ever since I came in, when I came in a little bit later too, as well. So it's been great.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Obviously, I imagine that would make it easier in terms of the transition to kind of come in that welcome environment. Having Scott Case on here last week, and again, he spoke of his Movember campaign, which is obviously doing very well, up over $1,000 now. Like obviously he spoke of one thing that I found interesting, and he said that there's a lot of characters in the room. Can you echo that statement?
Yeah, for sure. Like we're not like every guy's from a different area. So they're kind of like when guys come together from different areas, it's different. And sometimes guys can butt heads or something like that. But that hasn't really been the thing with our team. Like our team's gelled really well together. Like we just had a bus trip up to Elora and we had a great time on the way home.
Oh, cool.
Getting to meet the guys and stuff like that. And that Movember, that's been a great success. Like seeing that they've raised that much money for such a good cause is unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, again, it's such a huge deal. It's going on again for the rest of the month, obviously, and you guys could check that out on the Alvinston social medias. We're speaking with number 93, Grant Spence of the Alvinston Killer Bees, right here on the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. Grant, in terms of your junior career, I mean, everybody's got a moment that sticks out above any else in terms of, oh, that was an unbelievable memory. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. What is yours when it comes to that question being asked?
I think the greatest moment was probably in my major midget season in Windsor. We actually were lucky enough to win the championship and go to the TELUS Cup regional finals in Sudbury for a week. And that was unbelievable because our team was so close that year. We're all still buddies to this day, sort of thing. So that moment when we won the league and got qualified to the TELUS Cup regional, where we ended up actually making the finals before losing to a pretty good Mississauga team, that experience was definitely top notch for me.
And like, was there at any point in like that whole run or that even the playoff that was there like a crazy overtime winner or something that stood out for you? Maybe like a play that stood out that you remember so fondly, like that exact like play-by-play sequence. Like, is that something that you recall?
I'd say it's probably like right when we won the championship. Okay. We were in Brantford and just like the celebration the team had and just that moment. Because that was really the first hockey championship at a high level that I've won. Like our minor hockey didn't really win too much growing up. So having that experience definitely was great.
And obviously, does that kind of like when it happens, obviously in the moment, it's just a pandemonium, overjoy. Yep. And obviously it just fuels you to want to continue to get to that point where you're like, okay, I got to get that done again because it was such an unbelievable feeling.
Exactly.
And so like, what are your hopes there for the rest of the season with Alvinston? Because I mean, we're about halfway through almost now. And obviously, to put a couple in the win column, that's an obvious one. But what are your kind of hopes, I guess, and goals for the rest of the season?
I think the biggest thing for us, since every team in this league does make playoffs, is just playing good hockey leading into the playoffs and hopefully make a spark in the playoffs. I think that's the biggest thing. Because if we can get playing our best hockey going into playoffs, I think any team in this league can beat any team on any given night. I think that this league is so much like that. I just finished
saying that. Yeah.
So I think that as long as we're playing good hockey going into the finals or going into the playoffs, I should say, we have a shot for sure. Like we just played Elora, the number one team, and it was tied after the first period. And then if you take off the second period, we tied the third period with them. I think we both scored 2 or 3 goals each in the third period as well.
I think it would have been so 2-2 in the front, 2-2 on the back, 5-0 in the middle. Yeah,
exactly. So 2 periods we played right with the top team in the league if we take out that second period. So I think if we're playing great hockey coming into the playoffs, I think that's exactly where we need to be.
No, that's excellent answer. And I just finished saying that too. Like on any given night, any team could beat any team in this league.
Yep.
All it takes is like if you have one bad night and the team catches you on the other side, you're toast. Doesn't matter how good you are or how many wins you put up or how many goals you've scored. If they're not going in that night, you're done. One thing is speak about goals. Let's talk about goals because obviously one of the things that I was really impressed by when you guys came down to Stratford was the goaltending of Nolan Hacker. I thought he was just excellent. Talked with him a little bit. He's an outstanding guy off the ice as well. What has his play been like for you? Like, because you have a front row seat to it on the ice and on the bench. How good has he been?
He's been unbelievable. His goals against his save percentage aren't really telling what's actually happening. Like he's standing on his head night in, night out. Like we're like our biggest struggle right now is probably our defensive zone. Okay. And if it wasn't for him in net, these games wouldn't even be remotely close because he's standing on his head. He's making cross crease saves. He's playing really well.
Yeah, no, I've been really impressed with his play, and obviously, I just wanted to make sure I touched on that because he is pretty unbelievable. And then obviously, every time I bring up, like anytime I talk to an Alvinston guy or I bring up this league, I usually get a message from number 92, Tyler Ryan. He's a friend of the show, and he always wants me to mention him in some way, somehow. But what's it like been playing with him, and how good a teammate is he?
He's been a great teammate. Just like his experience that he has playing senior hockey too on our team that maybe isn't like not a lot of guys on our team have played a lot of senior hockey. Just his experience that way and being a leader in the room, that's huge. Yeah.
No, and like I say, he's an unbelievable guy outside of the game as well. And he's just an unbelievable player and talent, and great teammate, I imagine, to have.
Oh,
How
for
did
sure.
this all kind of come about for you, Grant? Like, I mean, how did that process go to come in and join this brand new league? Was it like friendships that you had with other players, or what, like, how did that process go for you?
Yeah, so Alex Cunningham, actually on our team, I ran into him at the gym, and he was saying that he was playing some competitive hockey, and that's what I was looking for. So I started this year actually in the Wins Races for a couple games, and it just wasn't exactly what I was looking for.
Okay.
And then I met him, and he said, "Just come give this a try." So I said, "Yeah." So I came out for a game, and I just liked it a lot better than where I was. So then it kind of just led in that direction.
That's awesome. And that's a fun, I love that stuff, about like how teammates reaching out to other people that they might know. That's how this game works. It's all word of mouth. It's all kind of, oh, this is interesting. Let me go try that out. If it's a good fit, then obviously I'll stick with that.
Yep.
Like, has hockey kind of always been the major passion for you? Like, kind of like who, like if you had to look back on your early upbringing in hockey, like who would you say is your biggest influencer when it came to getting you started and getting you through those early years?
Definitely my family. My family drive me to the rink every day. Like hockey's been my life ever since I was like 3 or 4 years old. So my parents drive me to the rink for the early morning practices, stuff like that, paying for my training, doing all that sort of thing. If it wasn't for them, I definitely wouldn't be playing at the level I am right now, or being as successful at it as I am right now.
Well, thanks, Mom and Dad, and then all the family support there. That's awesome. And obviously, yeah, like any person will ever tell you that it's generically the same answer. But I always like to give a little love to the parents because they are the backbone of any hockey player, and those early morning practices and so on and so forth. So that's awesome, Grant. That's great. Now, in terms of like, so you're are you a hockey fan? Like, do you have a favorite team? Like, who do you cheer for?
Yeah, I'm a Leafs fan.
Okay, good. So we'll get along.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like, has it always been the Leafs? Like, I mean, obviously, from a young age.
It's always been the Leafs. I haven't seen them win.
I know,
I
right?
don't know. I'm hoping I'm going to get to see them win, but yeah, exactly.
It's been tough, but obviously, yeah, like obviously, they've been pretty impressive this year so far. Like, who's your favorite player?
I don't really have a favorite player on their team right now. Like, they have so many guys that are just fun to watch out there. Like, Matthews is fun, Marner's fun, Tavares, Nylander, they're all fun to watch, and they all have those unbelievable skills. Like, if it's Matthews, just like watching him shoot the puck, I could watch him shoot the puck all day, just from different angles and everything like that. So I think they're just a fun team to watch right now, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would agree with that statement. And then obviously, like as a kid, when you were first getting into hockey, like, did you have like an idol or somebody that you were like, oh, look at that guy, I just want to be like him?
See, that's one thing that's pretty weird. Like, I never really had a favorite hockey player growing up. I don't know why that was really a thing.
That is odd, Grant.
Yeah, it was really odd. Like, I never really followed one guy too much. Like, I didn't really copy one guy's tape job or anything, which I find is pretty weird because all my friends had their favorite hockey player, but I really never had one.
That's okay, Grant. You know what? At the end of the day, you keep doing what you're doing, it won't much matter. You know what I mean? Like, you just keep doing what you're doing, pal. It's honestly unbelievable. So we've been talking here on the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. We've had a couple guests on here. The second, Grant Spence, number 93, the Alvinston Killer Bees. This upcoming weekend, you guys are, let me see here. You're on the ice in Tillsonburg on Saturday. Yep. That'll be a big contest. What are you hoping for in that one?
I'm hoping we can go in and get the win. I think Tillsonburg, we played them tough a couple of games. Like, we don't have an issue really scoring goals against them right now, but we just need to clean up our defensive zone. Like, we had a couple high scoring games against them. I think one of the games was like 15-7 or something against them. So
I do remember that.
So we just have to. So we're scoring goals against them. We just need to clean up our D zone. Like, and they got a couple of really skilled players as well. So if we can shut them down and just keep scoring goals, hopefully we can come out with the win.
Well, hey, you got to hope for a solid road effort. It'll be a good one. This one's on Saturday at 7:30 in Tillsonburg. Like I said, we've been speaking with Grant Spence, number 93, Alvinston Killer Bees. Grant, it's been absolutely awesome having you on here, pal, and we'll do this again. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so guys, we want to thank our guests for the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast, Spencer McCormick and Grant Spence. Unbelievable to have them on, and we really do appreciate them coming in and speaking with us. let's go to the score. Let's go to the this upcoming weekend. We'll look at the schedule ahead of this weekend. So I am in two spots this weekend. I am in Strathroy on Friday for the call of the Elora Rocks and the Strathroy Jets battle for number one. Elora at 9-1-0, Strathroy at 8-1. That one goes at 7:30 in Strathroy. Should be an unbelievable contest. That's Friday, November the 26th. On Saturday, November the 27th, it's our Hockey Fights Cancer game in Stratford between the Strathroy Jets and the Stratford Fighting Irish. That one goes at 4:30 in Stratford. It's going to be an unbelievable game, guys. We got a number of things going on in Stratford that'll be really exciting. So if you can't come down to the game if you can, but obviously stream the game as well if you can, or if you can't make it down to the rink. And then our final game of the weekend comes on Saturday, November the 27th as well, 7:30 p.m. tilt in Tillsonburg between the Tillsonburg Thunder, 5-6-0 against the Alvinston Killer Bees 0-11 in Tillsonburg at the Tillsonburg Memorial Arena. Should be an unbelievable contest. Guys, these podcasts are great. It's a great opportunity for me to talk with the players, and I hope you guys do really appreciate the interviews. I hope you appreciate the highlights as well because, a lot of hard work goes into putting those together, and I hope you guys do appreciate them. But yeah, guys, this has been a really long episode of the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast. Appreciate you guys watching and tuning along and picking out your favorite parts. But it's been an absolute blast bringing this week's episode to you. Next week, number 30 in the Western Ontario Super Hockey League podcast series. Thank you very much for watching, continued support, and obviously continued support in the Western Ontario Super Hockey League. Guys, I'm your host, Andrew Rogers, saying goodbye, and we will see you guys next week. Take care, everyone, and so long for now.